Hello, welcome. As requested, we are, well, 2 hours ahead of the schedule of 2 o'clock, but um, but we're here and we will discuss all things spoiler based on Dune. Um, so, to anyone that is watching this currently and you haven't seen the film, please get away from this video, especially if you intend on watching Dune. Um, but before we begin, let me just check everything is good and nifty on YouTube's behalf. One, 1 second. No, go to yes. Go to here. Nope. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Goes. Yeah. What is this thing doing? Hmm. Have I done something wrong? Oh, Uh, right. Let's try this. See if that's going to do anything. YouTube's a funny old thing, isn't it? Let's see if that had done anything. No. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is the one I want. Yeah, you go here. Okay, I think that we are ready to rock and roll. So, for the duration of this spoiler discussion, um, probably going to look to go for about another maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Because I noticed in the video I done yesterday that man there was so much other things I wanted to talk about. but I just didn't have. It just wasn't a long. It wasn't a long enough period to talk um, about the film itself. Um, and funny enough, the first point that I want to talk about was because with the recent news of Dune Part Two being greenlit to have its sequel, which I'm so happy about. Um, I'm happy about it in a sense of this is good because this signals to audience, well, to producers, executive, uh, studio members that audiences want more films like this, and it's been great the reception of the uh, of the actual Dune movie review that I put out. Funny enough, there wasn't people that were leaving messages on the video itself, but there was people engaging me on the Facebook groups, and I was very glad to hear that basically that a dad and his young son who was like 15 when he saw this film in cinema, and as he stated, he said his son was ready to just rip into the film because he was a avid Star Wars fan. And I find it funny how he was ready to try and nitpick at this film when, let's all really be honest, I mean, the last Star Wars, uh, the last Star Wars films haven't been particularly great themselves. So I found it quite funny how he wanted to lay into Dune, but the last Star Wars films have not really, you know, not really been lightning in a bottle, so to say. Um, and basically, the son and the father, they both walked out of that cinema. They were like, they loved it, you know. But yeah, like not only just with sci-fi, I would like to see more sci-fi and more medieval pieces like The Last Duel as well. More type of those stories. Um, and especially with time period piece films, I think there's such a huge difference between, you know, what is civilization as we know it now, as what we live in, and what was the civilization of what those people were living in, and you just kind of you kind of realize that you do live a very privileged and happy life when you put a perspective of how, you know, how one is dominantly more brutal than the other. Um, so, but no, let's talk about. I want to talk again about the scope and scale of Doom. Um, for example, it was only yesterday that I rewatched a scene from the film, and as a matter of fact, the ships, the scale of it is so big that I actually think in a particular moment my brain didn't actually compensate how big a ship was. And I just want to explain to you. Um, so you know the scene where the the Spacing Guild and the Empire go to meet House Atreides. Um, for whatever reason, I know it's so stupid, but the 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 ship is so the ship. I thought that it was just a ship that was landing onto the ground, right? As we've seen it in the trailer in the film. Um, but it's kind of got this deceiving look to it where you think of it as it's on this iron line where you just think it's just like a normal, I don't know, like a normal kind of looking aircraft. But then when I'm rewatching the scene again, and I think I probably would have picked up again, which I do plan on watching the film again in IMAX. Um, but I realized that the ship is bigger than the the top of this forest, and I'm like, oh shit, it's really that big. And then my brain then noticed the Atreides army, but they're all like fucking miniature ants, all in their military assembly, waiting for the Empire and the Spacing Guild to come up with the aircraft. And I'm like, it's things like that my brain didn't even really get a grasp of when I was watching it the very first time. I was like, holy bro, this thing is huge. As I said in my movie review, it's fucking gargantuan. Like, man, like, and people will say, well, how did you not notice that the first time? Because of how big the doors are when they open, and then the Empire and Spacing Guild walk out. I was like, I mean, I just only just saw in that moment, oh, it looks big, but I didn't even compute in the beginning of how actually big it was. Crazy. Now, um, where is another place to go within this discussion? Um, I mean, it's cool. I'm talking to myself, but it is what it is. Um, what's another good point? Also, I forgot to mention the Holtzman technology that was in Dune, and I think what's cool about the Holtzman technology is that I think, and especially the way that Denis Villeneuve captured it on film, that when you make contact with it, it turns blue, and when the slow blade penetrates the shield, it turns red. That was a nice little touch from Villeneuve. Um, and I just love, and what's so great about it is that all of the what I like is that the shields are all the same in the sense. So anyone that is fighting really has to outmaneuver their opponent to win. You know, um, it's like anyone can be as dangerous when it's when that technology is involved, because it's always about, can you basically get on the inside of your opponent and deliver that slow penetration of the knife. Um, and you can see the Sardaukar, who has specifically made technology um, to penetrate the shield with like a dart that can slowly penetrate the shield. So those were all nice little touches from Villeneuve. Um, and also as well, like how I said in my actual movie review, is that the action, and I think more so the hand-to-hand combat of Dune was what actually made me fall in love with the film even more. All of the sword sequences, all of the um, you know, all of that. I was like, man, you got to give it to him. You got to give it to our boy Danny V. Um, what is there to go by for the? I want to talk about this. This is quite interesting. Um, there's been this floating theory online about um, there's been this floating theory about when about Dr. Yue and what could have possibly have happened to his wife. Because when we find out, when he betrays House Atreides and betrays Leto, you know, he basically says, I'm doing this because I got no other choice. and the Harkonnens have my wife, and they're basically torturing her. And when that happened, it was like I made a little joke with my friends, like, "Yeah, bro, this guy is like he's become his own anti-hero all of a sudden," you know. That was. I mean, I didn't know the book so prolifically as anyone else. So when that scene happened, I was like, "Oh, all right, well, he's doing a dirty now, this guy." Um, but no, the theory is that the spider that we see in the beginning when um, when the Reverend Mother goes to see. Um, is it the Reverend Mother Mahayam, or is it a different? Hold on a second. I hope I'm saying that right. But the the Charlotte Rampling, Benny Gesserit, um, when she's there, there's a theory that that is actually Doctor Yue's wife being being created as a humanoid spider. I mean, if that isn't fucked up, I mean, bro, I mean, that is in perfect time for Halloween. That's tragic. That's fucking sick. But it goes to show the level of depravity from Harkonnens, and a lot of people reckon that that is a Easter egg for the 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 Taylor Sioux, you know, who are antagonists who come into the Dune universe in I think it's the second book of Dune Messiah, and then those are basically they're the people that will replace the Harkonnens as the main villains in the novel going forward, um, or rather the novel series. Um, so, but no, looking at the Taylor Sioux, they're like they isolate themselves from every other society, and they've got all these crazy breeding programs and things like that. Basically, think about how Denis Villeneuve captured the Sardaukar and Solus Secundus, and you know, it's gonna be framed very similar to what that introduction was to the Sardaukar, but with the Taylor Sioux. Um, and how we're gonna get an idea of how their gears work. Then you got the Ixians who are still trying to dabble in technology and things like that. But no, the whole universe of Dune is just so enriched with these different houses, these different people. I've even heard that through the Telexu that there's like warrior tribes and things like that. So, like I said in my movie review uh, for Dune and Dune itself, I mean it's 2.5 hours long of a film, but we've only touched upon maybe 4-5% of everything. I mean, you got to bear in mind like prequels as well. And it was only the other day that I was looking through. I mean, I don't know how reliable really a source is Wikipedia, but um, there's even been Brian Herbert, who was Frank Herbert's son. He gathered notes, and even in between the novels of Dune, he created other novels of what would happen in between those time periods as well. So really, well and truly, if Dune as a if we, especially with the second film, if that does really well, then um, we will get a fully realized world of Dune. I mean, there's even stories of sword masters of Ginaz. I mean, I mean, their folklore itself is so rich. It's like, you know, I mean, I could imagine somebody like a Gareth Evans doing that type of story. That would be so epic. And the Sword Masters of Ginaz were instrumental in in beating the thinking machines in the Butlerian Jihad. Um, but then when they scattered and they went off world, they they made sworn enemies with another tribe called, another house that were sword masters as well. Um, which, funny enough, in those books, um, turns out that, could be wrong, but I think I'm right. Turns out that the emperor gets these sword masters to attack the people of Ginaz. So not only has the emperor done the dirty on the Atreides, he's done the dirty on the Ginaz all those years ago as well. So in retrospective, Duncan Idaho has been done the dirty really twice by the emperor. I mean, if there's anyone that should kick his ass, that should kick the emperor's ass, it should be Duncan Idaho. I mean, I don't know whether or not that happens in the book, but if it's anything that you just go, well, you know what, we're just going to put this scene in here just to, add a little bit more drama, a bit more spice to the story, and have Duncan Idaho just beat the piss out of the emperor. Because boy, I would be so annoyed. um, but yeah, um, what other points should we talk about? Um, what other points? Oh yeah, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about Oscar Isaac, because I feel like there isn't enough. I mean, I'm sure there is, but from what I've seen anyway, I haven't seen many people praise um, his performance, and I think he was good. Like, and I think he was, you know, um, he was humble. He was, oh man, do you know what? When everybody does it, right? When we watch a film, we have our own opinions, and then sometimes, I mean, I don't do it in the sense of, like I want to be a sheep or I want to follow the crowd, or but I like to dabble and find out what other people got to say about these films I'm watching, and sometimes what will happen is they'll make a point and I'll realize, oh, I didn't know that. Maybe I don't know. For me, it makes me sometimes like a film more than I already do, and sometimes it makes me dislike a film a little bit, even if I did like it initially. Um, but I can't remember who it was. But I think it could have been Grace Randolph. And don't quote me on that. Possibly wasn't that about her, but I'll make another point about Grace Randolph, which is she said something, and I just wanted the whole ground to swallow me up, and I just wanted to disappear that very moment when I was watching her review. But no, okay, I'll just say this: somebody said that they didn't think Leto Atreides was believable as a leader, you know. But if you ever look back on history of leaders that asked of things from their people, no matter whether they were brilliant or they were terrible, like maybe I don't know Jim Jones, right? Um, I mean, I'm not leading aspect of leaders in general. Um, they have to come across as charismatic. They have to love bomb you. They have to shower you with love to make you feel welcome and all these things. Had you been too militant in a sense, let's say if his leadership was like under some kind of dictatorship, then he wouldn't have gained the love of the people, and and supposedly the influence that was happening across the Landsroad houses in the sense of driving the emperor to get to the point of, right, this guy's a threat. He's too likable. People want to follow him. I'm gonna have to pull the plug and just put them in a death trap on Arrakis and just get rid of them. But yeah, people said, oh, he wasn't. But at the same time, the way that Oscar Isaac came across, he came across wholesome, he came across humble, respectful. I mean, those are all traits of a leader that you wanna kind of root and get behind on. And I think that Oscar Isaac actually captured that brilliantly with his performance. Also, I was really happy to see Javier Bardem. All of the fans of No Country for Old Men were happy to see Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin reunited on screen again. Not as enemies, but as good friends. And actually going into the second half of the first book of Dune, they actually do become, really good compadres in a sense. And talking about compadres, there was comments. I mean, because you got to remember, I see things on and off through social media, and apparently, what's his name? What's his name? Jason Momoa. He said he didn't feel like he was. Not, again, I don't know, but maybe he felt. He said he felt out of place or something in that vein. He felt out of place with his acting. But funny enough, people give him slack because he's the surfer bro kind of cool guy kind of trait. But at the same time, I felt like his kind of like demeanor in the film was needed, he was like that cool kind of uncle, that kind of does favors for you, and Jason Momoa exuded that really well. As a matter of fact, I actually think that Jason Momoa's first interaction with Timothée Chalamet on Caladan when he has the flying test with whatever that spacecraft was, or the aircraft rather, it was more spacecraft. But when Paul tells him about his premonition of seeing him dead, in the moment where he just kind of stops and just thinks, like, okay, that was weird. There's little things like that I thought were. That I was like, okay, that was great. And to his benefit and his credit, I believe that when he does the symbol where he puts the knife to his chest and then to his head, that was something that he came up with, right? And then it becomes and then before Paul Atreides fights Janus in Arrakis, he does it before his fight, and that's a way of honoring Duncan, right? But the thing is, it's like, I don't know, whatever reason he's been saying the things he's been saying, but he actually, with what I just said there, his acting and the little bit of improvisation is what actually made the film what it is, a masterpiece. So he shouldn't be kicking himself down whatsoever. Um, because he's given a great interpretation of his character. He thought outside the box in some scenes, and like, salute to you, man. You done your thing. Um, Let me wonder. I think to wrap up, what I'll talk about is because recently I've been hearing talks of a director's cut of Dune, and boy, I mean, what shirt am I wearing, bruv? Come on now, listen, we need that director's cut. I don't care, we need it because people that are fans of the source material, people that are, you know, you have you. I just personally think it's only right that you know that a filmmaker has his full vision being realized. You know, look, even if it's for better or for worse, the extended cut could be terrible. It could be, and then maybe it might make, you know, but I just think that when somebody's put in so much time into something, you know, nine times out of 10, I always believe an extended cut of a film is always better than the one that the audience sees as the theatrical version. Um, and also, we have to also bear in mind is that the reason why maybe scenes are deleted is because maybe they're rated R, maybe they're too explicit or so on and so forth. I mean, like I said um, in my review, it felt like the Sardaukar scene went it felt like a rate 15 straight away. And I've been hearing whispers that in the extended cut, when we go to Solicitor Secundus and we see the Sardaukar for the first time, those bodies are actually naked, just being drained of their life. Who knows? Maybe that scene was maybe a little bit longer. I've also heard apparently Peter DeFries having this weird fixation on Lady Jessica. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see what type of messed up shit. You know, maybe if it doesn't totally go with. I mean, look, if you've already got humanoid spiders walking around in your film, what's a weird, absurd sexual fantasy gonna do to me? But people are, some people are sensitive, they become triggered, and it's just like, man, it's like films are so scared nowadays about being films, about telling a story, because we've got to worry about, what does this person think about it? We upset this community here. It's like, man, honestly, it really is just a joke. Like, I just want to see it. It's a similar thing to something that happened with Tenet, apparently, with I think the film wasn't going to be opened in China or in a certain market because instead of they wanted it to be cut down to 2 kicks instead of 3 because I mean okay, in that film, there is a heavy element of domestic abuse in it, no doubt about it. But you know, two free kicks. I don't get how that's how how different. But do you get what I mean? Like it's still a guy kicking a woman. It doesn't, you know, if it was so bad, you should just get rid of the whole thing then because he's still kicking her. You know, um, I mean that's my opinion anyway on it. Um, but yeah, Denise Villeneuve. As a matter of fact, let me check what his next project's going to be. Because he's got a bit of time now in between, well, in between now and 2023 when the film comes out. I heard that he was doing a TV series with Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, and I watched The Guilty last night. I liked it. I liked it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's just a decent film or a must see, but I enjoyed what I saw. Okay, let's find what this. Oh, he acted once. When did he acted? Oh, years ago. All right. Well, all. Let's go. Let's go to all release. Bro, just send me the whole thing. Ah, that's it. Okay. So we know that. I mean, his feature film record is fucking amazing. Cosmos. Did he do? Hold on a second. Did he? I don't know. I mean, 6.6. Cosmos, I believe, was his first film. I mean, everything is like the higher end of a 6 to 7, and then it's like fully 8. Like his work is like shit up. But no, for his upcoming projects is part two, Dune as we know, and the Sun. Let me read what this is. The son questions his father's suicide and seeks out those who killed him. Interesting. And Cleopatra. Cleopatra. I mean, if you're saying, yeah, if you're saying, definitely he needs to. He needs to hit it out of the park on this second film, um, and I have no doubt it's going to be interesting because at that point when in 2023, Um, there ain't gonna be no day and day bullshit release, and that's not gonna hinder the film whatsoever. And people are gonna have to actually go and watch it. Um, and I think I can think it because the thing is the second film, well, second half of the book is all just action now. Um, and the third one, I'd say, well, the third movie, well, Dune Messiah. I think is Dune Messiah the second book. I'm bloody mad, bro. Frank Herbert went in all those years ago, man. Let me find out. No, children. Ah, Dune Messiah. That's the second book he done. Yeah, that's the one. Dune Messiah is, and then the third book. So really, by the time that Villeneuve would have created his three films, he would have only done the first. He would have only done two books, and the whole of Dune is. Let me no. Whole of Dune is so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So in total, there's 22. There's like 22 books. Can go on for forever, basically. But now in this video, I think I've covered all of the added spice that I wanted to go over. And I'll leave this here for anyone on the channel that wants to check it out. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go watch the El Sacchio. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And I'll see you in the next video, which will be the last duel. All right, then. Peace.